Let's start by talking about the bailouts and where we are on that story. The third bailout review, it officially starts mid-October. Do you think it's going to be concluded by the end of this year? Is it going to drag on into 2018? What's the timing?
The expectation is actually that it will be completed by the end of the year. We expect that we'll have more than 80% done by the Eurogroup that meets in November, and the rest of it by the Eurogroup meeting in December. The third review is much different than what the second review, which took much longer than it should have taken. All efforts are to complete the review on time, the end of the year, so that the 2018 is concentration in different things and how to get out of the memorandum of understanding.
And the biggest question is, of course, around debt relief. Do you see the Eurozone deciding on debt relief measures in the coming months as the IMF wants? What's the time frame for that realistically as we go into the closing dates on the German election, which has its own significance perhaps? But first of all, let's deal with the timeline for debt relief.
Let's remember that in the second review there was an agreement that there will be an earnest discussion about the debt relief for the long-term bonds for Greece, and therefore the expectation is by the end of August 2018, when we're coming close to the end of the memorandum of understanding, that in fact there will be a discussion, serious discussion, and perhaps some decisions made about the long-term debt restructuring for Greece. So I'm optimistic that things will happen. One has heard that there will be a present value reduction, where there will be the extension of the maturity of the bonds and also different interest rates that will make the debt sustainable.
So you expect that to happen? When do you expect that to?
Well, I expect that this will be serious discussion will take 2018, and especially before the end of the...
On Manas's point about the German election, we've heard from one party leader, there's a lot of focus on who is in the coalition in Germany. The FDP leader, Lindner, has said that Greece may have to leave the EU if it wants to qualify for further debt relief. This is a person who may or may not end up in the German government. Does the German election have an implication for this debt relief story for you?
Well, I think it would be inappropriate for me to make a comment about who is going to be in the coalition partner of Chancellor Merkel. And I think that the Germans have shown actually that they do want a solution. And I believe that the government that will emerge from the elections in Germany will be not different than what has been the current government.
The markets, we look at bond markets, we look at equity markets, we try to assess various countries in various ways. Now, over the past month, I'm going to show our viewers a spectrum of the banks. The banks are under pressure again in Greece, and I specifically referred to Piraeus. Let's have a look at them. The pressure here, this is the past month. You can see Piraeus down by 35%, Alpha Bank, perhaps, this is year to date. I thought we were going to show month to date. There's pressure here in the banks. My question to you is this. Is there a new initiative to address the non-performing loans issues? Will the bad loans get reduced by 2018, 2019? It seems sort of optimistic. The banks are under pressure. This is a canary, some would say, in the Greek coal mine.
Well, you know, this whole thing has started from the IMF that has requested an AQR, which actually is not necessary because the stress tests were done in 2015, and they actually proved to be the banks quite strong. And they were done actually stressing under even the worst scenario possible. The ECB, as you know, has indicated there's nothing wrong with the Greek banks, that the new stress test will take place. But
the Bank of Greece is investigating suspected irregularities at Piraeus in regards to write-downs, and this goes to the heart of the matter.
Look, I can't comment on that because we don't really know what it is yet. There are some discussions that have taken place, but it's very, very difficult to know exactly what happened, if you think anything happened. I think what is important to know is that the stress tests are not necessary now. They have been scheduled, and one has to accept what the ECB says. The SSM actually regulates the Greek banks, the systemic banks, and therefore this is where we have to base.
In terms of dealing with the non-performing loans, some have described...
The non-performing loans, I want to answer that question,
sure.
Is there are a number of measures have been taken. First of all, as you know, the Greek National Bank and the Piraeus Bank and the other two systemic banks have begun to enter in negotiations with companies that will actually take and service these loans. And secondly, there's a legislation which is out of court workouts for the small and medium-sized enterprises. So I think that the goal, the target of MIT, which is a 40 billion reduction by 2019, based on the latest estimates by the governor of the Bank of Greece, seem to be on target.
You're on a roadshow. I mean, you make productivity look. You make Anna and I look as if we don't work very lazy. You make and that's hard. You're on a roadshow. You've met 31 institutions. Give me a.
And I mean 23 today.
That was yesterday. Okay.
And another 10 tomorrow. So.
Sir, you put productivity in a whole... Look, what I want to get to is what's the appetite? What's the feedback? What's the appetite for your paper? How confident is the story that you're telling in terms of the growth, and what is it matching with investors?
I think that the story is believable because one has to see the statistics that are coming out from Greece. Every possible economic indicator that measures the health of an economy is positive and upward trend. And therefore, investors have shown some appetite because there are tremendous opportunities in Greece. And therefore, what we see is a good number of them have already invested in Greece. They want to extend their investments in other economic sectors, as well as to continue to show that it's possible to be profitable and to invest in Greece.
Are any of the investors asking you about the Eldorado case, this gold miner, the biggest investor in Greece, that has suspended its operations because it's waiting for news around permits and they're waiting to hear something from the government on this? Can you say anything to Eldorado, and are investors referencing
I was expecting this question, but I should say that there was only one question from all these funds. So it isn't that important, I think, in terms of the investing public. Yes, I think that the Eldorado is a complex case. I think that the latest decision by the Greek government was to go to arbitration. There's some difference of opinion. And it is very actually troubling to have the Eldorado announce that it will suspend its operation 4 days or 5 days before actually the decision is to come out from the arbitration.
Because they say they want to hear some constructive comments from the government.
There have been some licenses that have been issued. So I think that we'll have to wait for the final result.
Look, the bottom line is it's numbers. Are you going to have to implement more austerity in 2018 to hit the primary surplus target of 3.5%?
No. We are actually on target for this year. I think that...
so that's it, you're done with austerity?
The primary surplus is going to be met and it's going to be exceeded. And plans are underway. Whatever measures we have taken, I think will deliver the 3.5% primary surplus that's required for next year.